What's up, everybody? Shauna D-Man here, and welcome back. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great Labor Day weekend. We are back with another little episode of the Auburn Podcast. This one probably a bit short, just to give more thoughts on the game last Friday and Auburn's win 38-24 over Baylor, and just some of the talking points and what should we expect going forward from this football team if things, continue to improve, like, or at least, get the same results as we did on Friday against the Bears. So, first and foremost, looking at the rest of the SEC, if Auburn can continue to improve week over week over week, I think there's a good chance they could have a really, really solid season. I did not watch Oklahoma play their game with John Mateer, so I did not see that. But I did watch a little bit of the Texas A&M and UTSA game, and quite honestly, it looked like Texas A&M was struggling with UTSA. There was a moment where there was like 17-24. I don't know what the final score was. Let me see. I don't remember what the final score of that game was, but it looked relatively close throughout the entire game. Let's see what they finished. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming Texas A&M won, but it definitely it was just a little close. All right, so they ultimately ended up winning 42-24, but again, the score doesn't indicate how close that game was. So that is a game where maybe Texas A&M is. And now again, it's week 1. Auburn doesn't play them till week 4. Week 4? No, week 5. Obviously they got the road game to Oklahoma beforehand. And then Alabama, they lost yesterday, or not yesterday, on Saturday as well, to Florida State, to the good old Gus Malzahn. That should be interesting to watch the Iron Bowl later on this season if everything continues to go the way they are. But overall, I think Auburn has a good chance of having a really good season. Now, obviously, you got to just clean up some mistakes that you had with the game against Baylor. You're not really going to face a team like that throughout the SEC the rest of the way. Baylor runs pretty much, because Jake Spavital, the offensive coordinator for Baylor, is from the Mike Leach tree of air raid. So they were doing a lot of air raid based concepts. Once they realized they couldn't run the ball, they were just really spreading Auburn out and things like that. And a lot of it was missed tackling. A lot of it was just good catches by the Baylor wide receivers. It is what it is, but you gave up over 400 yards of passing. Again, you're not really. I don't think you're going to even face a quarterback with that capability within the SEC this season. Like, I just don't think there's going to be a quarterback that's going to throw over 400 yards on Auburn this season whatsoever. Sawyer Robertson is probably better than most of the quarterbacks in the SEC this season. I think he's better than Zach Calzada. He's probably better than Missouri's quarterback. I would maybe say he's on par with Taylor Green from Arkansas. Gunnar Stockton, I think he can improve. I think he's a good quarterback. I'll probably put him in a tier with them, but I just don't think the caliber of arm strength and power that you saw from Sawyer Robertson. I don't think you're going to see that from another quarterback this season. So Auburn has a good chance of not having to deal with those same mistakes. And again, week 1 to week 2, this was relatively good to have a game like this to start off your season on the road, where you have a lot of film to where you can go back and coach up and correct some of these were just minor mistakes. There were misassignments, mainly on the defense. There were some misassignments that resulted in guys getting easy catches and stuff like that. That's stuff that you can clean up from week 1 to week 2 and going forward. Because again, you got Ball State this week, and then you got South Alabama next week. You got 2 weeks of basically preseason camp against actually, live bodies to work on these things before you hit the road for Texas A&M and Oklahoma. Now, I was watching Cover 3 on Saturday night. They're not the only ones who's been talking about this. There have been other people as well where they're talking about how Auburn won the game, but Jackson Arnold only threw for 108 yards. And, they got these receivers out here, and I'm just kind of like, Zach Blackerby said it really good. He was like, did you even watch the game? Because understand that Baylor, Dave Aranda and Baylor, they were sitting with 2 high safeties pretty much all game long. They did not want the Auburn, even when Auburn was beating them on the ground as they were for over 300 yards rushing. They did not adjust. They kept 2 high safeties, which, I mean, you probably could have tested that, but that could have easily turned into interceptions, turnovers, something like that. So Auburn just did what Baylor gave them. Even Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze mentioned that that basically Baylor was stubborn. They did not get out of that 2 high safety look, and so they just kept it on the ground. They just took what the defense gave them, and we saw with the RPO that we heard throughout fall camp that the RPO was high level. And we saw it executed relatively well. I'm sure there was some stuff that Hugh Freeze saw that maybe he needs to coach up with Jackson a little bit more. Drop back passing does need some work for sure. But again, you got 2 weeks to basically work all that out before heading on the road. But that's just something that needs to be worked out. And then, again, I think you'll be fine. I think Auburn will be fine in the passing game because I don't think teams are going to do that. I don't think they're going to, I don't think Georgia is going to sit with 2 high safeties when you play them. I don't think Texas A&M is going to sit with 2 high safeties. I don't think Oklahoma is going to do that. I don't think a lot of these teams are going to sit and let Auburn just run the ball on you like that. I don't think they're just going to do that because now not only you have to contend with Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb, but now you also got to contend with Jackson Arnold running the ball. So I would not be surprised. Again, we'll see how it looks with Oklahoma because I think that's going to be the not real first test, but that's going to be a defense. Because give Brent Venables credit, he is a pretty good defensive coordinator. But that is going to be, we're going to see how they will play Auburn this upcoming in that game. Whether, because I don't know that personnel. They were good on defense last year. I would expect them to take a step forward this year as well on defense. But I just think everything's fine. We saw a little bit more of the tight end. Now I'm curious if we're going to see more of the tight end in future games, or was this just kind of like a basically this was Baylor wasn't allowing us to throw it, so we had a tight end in to help with the run game, that kind of stuff. But they caught some balls. Brandon Frazier caught some passes. Preston Howard caught some passes. I think those were the only 2. I don't think there was another person out there, another tight end out there who caught the ball. And obviously there are some things you could work on because Jackson did miss some throws. There's one to Cam Coleman in the end zone. Maybe ball placement was maybe a little bit better. Cam Coleman could have had a chance for that. And there was one when Malcolm Simmons was going up the sideline where if he adds a little bit more to it and let Malcolm run underneath it and catch it, that could have been a touchdown as well. So there were some missed opportunities in the passing game for at least 2 touchdowns that easily can just be corrected going forward. So that's mainly what this is. It's just, you're just correcting things. Now you can start to improve upon, at least on the offensive side, and I guess defensive side as well. Now you can just start improving upon your base offense, your base defense, and can start to add on maybe a little bit extra stuff. Like, we know the RPO game is going to be solid. We saw that all night against Baylor for the most part. They look good. Now the drop back passing is definitely something that needs to be worked on. And you're probably going to see it this weekend and next weekend against against Ball State and South Alabama. So I would not be surprised if Hugh Freeze lets Jackson Arnold sling it this Saturday. Get Eric Singleton, Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, and them boys in the game. Everybody should be relatively healthy. I know Amaris Williams went out in the game on Friday, but sounded like he came back in. Damari Alston, he came back in. He looked like he got landed on and probably got some wind knocked out of him. But he eventually came back in. But this is going to be a good opportunity because you're going to be able to play a lot of your young guys for sure. Like defense, Derrick was already playing him. I think we saw Elijah Melendez. He played. Eric Winters played. Aquan Fankins, he played. So you're probably going to see like a lot more of your freshmen play too. Defense and maybe even offense. Which I'll talk about that on Wednesday for Wednesday's preview against Ball State about what I expect to see from that game. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff to clean up, a lot of stuff to work on. But again, solid start to the season. Now you just gotta fix some things like I mentioned, and then listen. If Auburn starts to continue to grow, and Jackson Arnold, and that was another thing too that everybody was talking about all off season, and they made a big deal of Hugh Freeze saying like, hey, Jackson, let's make sure Jackson feels comfortable and confident coming out of practice, and everybody was like making such a big deal out of it. He looked pretty confident to me on Friday. He looked good, and like he looked like he was having fun. And so like some of these narratives, and I've talked about this the other week before the season started. Some of these narratives that have came out because of what Hugh Freeze said have all been relatively stupid narratives, and they're just taken out of context and without like substance to go along with it. Jackson Arnold, when he was at Oklahoma, he had nothing around him. And yes, Brent Venables said it wasn't Jackson's fault; it was the coaching staff. Now he's in a much better situation. Like if he didn't have confidence before, he has it now. And I'm sure he's had confidence all throughout fall camp and everything. So he's fine. He's fine. Didn't really have any turnovers. Now he did almost fumble the ball, which we probably would rather him take a sack right there more than anything. But it is what it is. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. But we'll see. We'll see how Saturday goes. But other than that, guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys on Wednesday for our little preview of Ball State. If you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, comment below. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all have a good one.